Today I'll be continuing my Deep Guide to Time Travel series. I'm going in a little bit deeper now. Um, and if you haven't seen the first part video in the series about the first six dimensions, you might want to go back and watch that first. I'll probably put a link to it in the description because if you don't understand that, then all the rest of this might be a little confusing. So today, as a quick recap, first of all, last video I talked about as I was saying, the six dimensions. You have um, sixth dimension, fifth dimension, and fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and sixth dimension through one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional time. In this video, I'll be mostly going over the fifth dimensional, like the fifth dimension, and maybe a little of the sixth dimension. I'm not really sure yet, but the fourth dimension by itself isn't really that complicated, so I don't really see much of a need to go over it. I mean, it looks complicated sometimes, like especially if there's a lot of time travel, but since it's just one timeline, it's not really that complicated. So, fifth dimensional time. So, I'm gonna use some examples here. So I have a timeline, and I time travel back and change something, which creates a new timeline that I'm now in. And then I try to go back to the future, but it's different because it's a different time. Wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll go over that in a future video. There's a washing machine on the other side of this wall. If you can hear that, let me see. Travel to the future, create a new timeline. Right. So, you can create new timelines this way, changing events in the past or future. You might think of it only as in past, but in a fourth dimensional timeline where all the stuff that will happen already has, in a sense, even going into the future could create a new timeline because the present is the future of the past, and the past the past was once the present. And hang on, I'm getting a little muddled. So the present was once the future, and the past was once the present and the past, depending on how far back you go. But the future will eventually be the present, and the future will also eventually be the past, which means that even going into the future, in the future, further from that will have been the past. So you're still creating a new timeline, even if you're going into the future, even if you may not realize it at first. That's one way to create new timelines, obviously, is time traveling, either forward, backward in time, changing something, and creating a new timeline. But there's also another more subtle way, and that's mirror decisions. So, if you may be familiar with superpositions and Schrodinger's cat and stuff, so with super small stuff, that's back to the topic of the previous video. We actually think that super small stuff might be in higher dimensions, and this is how we realized it. So, fourth, the superposition states that basically it's when something can be in two opposing states at the same time, and only once the thing is observed, it chooses one state to be in. But it is possible that it's still in a superposition. It's just that being observed split, so that it's split so that in this timeline it's one state, and this timeline is another state. So I have like a box, and I put cheese or something in it, and I wait like a while, and then I open the box to see how the cheese is doing. In one timeline, the cheese might be exactly the same. In one timeline, the cheese might be moldy, and in one timeline, the cheese might have been eaten by a rat or something. That's really the basics of it, but um, every decision would create a new timeline because even with small decisions that don't really affect the timeline much, it's more visible with bigger decisions that could change the timeline a lot in the future. But even smaller decisions, they wouldn't have happened. Like they still could have happened differently, causing minor differences to happen. And I'm not sure if I want to get in any deeper right now. But the basics of this is that, well, as you've seen in the title of the video, everything can, has, and will happen. Alright, we need to get into six-dimensional stuff a little bit, probably. So, as you've seen, all of this could happen. But, hang on. With all those decisions and time travels creating new timelines, it might be easy to say that that stuff is new. Like when you go through time and create a new timeline, that timeline wouldn't have been there before. But it is possible that actually you would have already time traveled. So it's a lot similar to the fourth dimensional timeline. It's kind of different. So this is how I like to draw a fifth dimensional timeline. So you have, of course, standard timelines. You got past and future, but then if you turn it on its side, you also have past and future again. So you have like newer timelines going on. So even if you travel between timelines, those timelines, even though you might cause their existence, they could have already existed in the future. If that's making sense, this is hopefully making sense. Well, I feel like I might be getting a bit close to the topic for the next video. Yeah, so I just hope you understood that, and I'm gonna stop for now. Stay tuned. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.